Good morning. Welcome to Shields and Arrows, where we defend the faith, the family, and the fellowship. I am Pastor Mark Baze, and I hope that you had a good weekend. We had a great time at our Bible conference. I know most of you probably who are watching this morning may have already seen some of it. What I want to do today is initially, just starting off the show, give a little bit of an after-action report on the conference, just kind of giving you my thoughts on how everything went, how things seem to be received by people, and maybe some things I learned, some things that I plan on doing, taking what I've gained and experienced from this year and rolling it into next year, because I can already tell you right now, I've wanted to make sure that we do one of these every year, and so I want to make this annual. So expect to have another Bible conference this time next year, probably right around the end of March. It seems to be a good time of year, especially for a lot of people, just regarding school and life. Not a whole lot's going on in the earliest days of spring once you get past spring break. So I think it's a good time. I think everything went really well. And just want to thank you for supporting us, being involved. So many of you have, whether you attended in person, like I see that Rick's on here with us, or you actually did some donations where we could do some door prizes. So thankful for all of that. All right, so now first of all, the morning has been stressful, so I've just now managed to make my coffee. So it's sitting right here in front of me. I don't always try to drink coffee when I'm watching the show, but every now and then, we may have to do something like where I don't know, just remind you that this is Shields and Arrows, where we defend the faith, the family, and the fellowship, and then all of a sudden, the volume may go down for a moment because I'm actually sneaking a drink of coffee. But you would never know that I was doing such a thing. All right, so let's see here. The big takeaways. First of all, we had a good turnout. I was happy. I was hoping, for 40, 50 people. And I think that we ended up having a total of something like 68 people registered. That doesn't mean that we consistently had 68 the whole time. There were some people who were able to come Friday who couldn't come Saturday, some people who came Saturday that didn't get to come Friday. And but overall, though, it was really good. We had people, obviously our crew from Texas. A lot of them were able to come and join us, most of them for the whole conference. And then we also had a couple who were able to make it in time to join us for Sunday morning. And that was great. When a small church, small country church has people coming from out of state to attend, that speaks volumes to them, and it lets them know that what we're doing is really something quite unique, because as far as I know, I don't know of any Oklahoma church, unless you're just like right off of the Red River, that you have Texans coming on a semi-monthly basis, or basically a monthly basis. So that's I think a pretty unique thing. We had Rick from North Carolina join us. We also had some people from northern Oklahoma, family, younger family, really great people, beautiful family, beautiful kids, and they joined us for the whole weekend, and it was great. They're searching, trying to understand that they are not Calvinists, but they're surrounded by Calvinists, and they're trying to figure out, hey, what is the proper way to interpret the Bible? And so I think that they had some interesting things. I think they found it worth their while, and that was my biggest goal for the whole conference. I just wanted to make sure that people felt like it was worth their time. It was worth their travel expenses, that it was worth just the time they lost sitting there listening to all of our sessions. And I really feel like, for the most part, everyone felt like it was well worth their time. I think that things that I definitely want to carry over next year, I think just feeding people at the church is such a big benefit. So we did 3 meals at the church, a Friday night meal and then breakfast and lunch. I think we'll follow a very similar format to that, because it really saves you a lot of time. Saturday, those of you that were with us on Saturday, and I don't know how many of you that may be listening right now. I know my mom wasn't there, but Rick was. My mom was watching an OU softball game. in person. But Saturday went really well, and maybe Rick can comment to it. Of course, Rick is traveling maybe right now, so he may not be able to comment too much. But Saturday was definitely the long day, but it all went really well because I think we fed you breakfast and we fed you lunch. So I definitely foresee we're going to do that again because there are people who really like to cook, who like to provide meals, and so that all went really good. Some things that also went good was I think we took enough breaks to give people time to visit, but it wasn't where we drug it out too long and we ended up staying later than I meant to. We ended up finishing consistently ahead of schedule the whole time, which is what I wanted. You don't want to schedule it and then you go way past your actual time frames. So all that went really good. And one reason why I'm talking to you about it, because this was my first time organizing, planning a conference that I've hosted. I have done smaller conferences before, but they've always been at other churches, not organized, not planned by me. So the fact that we were able to do our first one and we finished it on time, but also it wasn't like it was cut short. I mean, we were at the church until, on Saturday, we were at the church until 5:30. I mean, we were there for almost the proper time span according to schedule. So all that went really well. Some things that I would do differently. For me personally, my prep needs to be different. I think I did not have my presentations done soon enough, and so some of those may have been rushed a little bit, and I think you'll see some of that in the conference if you watch it. Some of the slides there were some typos. I just didn't have time to go back and reread them. So the good thing is next year, if I run out of time, it's mostly my fault because now I know. Now I know how much I really need to be prepping for. And so I have a better idea. But some other things that we might do differently, I didn't give a lot of time for questions early on just because it didn't pop into my mind. I didn't open up the floor for questions until later on in Saturday's sessions. So I will try next time to be more aware that people may have questions or comments or want clarification on something. And let's see here. The only other things, we had a little bit of static in some of our recordings, and if some of you watched them, you may have heard it. That may be our lapel mic. I thought it was static electricity buildup, and we're going to try to check and see. The good thing is, I'm going to actually play for you if you have not watched it. I'm going to play you probably about the worst static that we get. And it's not, I may be judging it more harshly than what you would, or maybe you are actually judging it harsher than I would. Here in session 4, there's probably an annoying commercial playing right now. Let me mute that to where you don't have to hear it. Here is some of the audio for our 4th session. Now you ready? And I don't know. Exodus 32:33. And the Lord said unto Moses, whosoever hath sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book of life. How can you have a security of salvation? If you sin against God, He'll blot you out of His book. Not book of life in there, I inserted that, but I think it's the same thing, the same book. What do you do with that? If you're not so I don't know if you could hear some of the static going on. For the most part, in sessions 3 and 4 was when I noticed it the most. And so I apologize about that. I'm not quite sure if it's due to static buildup going on inside our cabinet that we have all of our equipment in, or if it's maybe it's our lapel mic. Eventually, I'm probably going to purchase a new lapel mic to replace it. That may be the source of the issue. I'm not sure. But other than that, there is a little bit of static. Frustrating. We tried to solve it. Couldn't quite get rid of it entirely, but I think for the most part, what you heard right there was about the worst of the sound quality. So, once again, Shields and Arrows, defending the faith, family, the fellowship, certainly not taking a coffee break. As you can tell, we're a little bit more laid back this morning. Still trying to recoup a little bit. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take this Wednesday off. I think we're going to go live, though, because a man in my church, Evan, is going to be giving a Wednesday night lesson. So we're going to, I think, live stream that, and you'll be able to watch him teach. And he's a good right divider, so you should enjoy it. Now, there was something interesting on Saturday. We had a few guests, and if you watched the conference, you know that we absolutely dived into the depths of right division. Even though I may not have used the terms quite so bluntly as I do with you on the show, the idea was there that not all the Bible's for us. Even the Gospels themselves are not directly about us. The book of James is not about us. And there were some who realized, and they were not familiar with my teaching, they were not familiar with my ministry, but as they were listening, they realized what I'm teaching is very different from what they've heard from their pastors, from their own personal beliefs, from their studies, you name it. And there was some questions that had a little bit of pushback. And I was told by people who were at the church, at the conference, they told me that I handled it well. You always want to try to be very gentle because you all remember the first time you heard this idea, and that we fundamentally misunderstand the Bible in a number of ways, trying to apply things that don't apply to us. And how that's quite a shocker. It's a lot to wrap your head around. And so I tried to handle it the best way I could, try to be gentle, loving, and we don't know. I don't know if we'll see these guests again, if they'll come back. I know that we did have one Calvinist in the room with us, and the individual stayed the whole time, didn't leave. Wasn't there on Sunday, but that was because she had a church that she went to. But they were all very cordial, very respectful. There was nobody that was rude to me, and I don't think that we had anybody rude to anyone else. Everybody got along very, very well. It was a very good time. It does leave me thinking that I didn't know how many people from the surrounding areas would join. I really thought it was going to be like my church, and then the few who follow my ministry online or the ones in Texas who come and see us. I didn't quite know how many from outside would be interested in coming and joining us. I think what we're going to do is probably keep the Spring Bible Conference, and there's a reason why I'm referring to it as the Spring Bible Conference. I don't think it's going to happen this next year. I do foresee eventually doing 2 conferences a year. I think that's what we're probably going to do eventually. Either do a spring and a late summer, maybe a spring and a winter, or maybe early winter type conference. I'm not sure. We'll see. But I definitely think that if we're wanting to try to, hey, I know, don't kick me out, but evangelize a little bit, if I'm going to use that term. What I'm meaning is reaching people with rightly dividing the Bible, good sound Bible doctrine. I think these conferences need to be accessible for people. I think the topics, I think the discussions, I think they need to be something people can actually grasp. I think this topic that, so let me add another one. I think that the topic that I chose to do was really good because it applies to everybody. Everybody wants to study the Bible, at least people who, are in this arena of believing the Bible and having a desire, a fire for it, that they're interested in Bible study and they want to avoid common Bible study mistakes. And so I think we're probably going to keep this Bible conference in the spring something accessible, but I think that you would all agree that even though it was accessible, not excess, but accessible, we still touched on matters of doctrine, and we went into some areas that were challenging. And so I think that even you'll find it to be encouraging, but also, hey, this is not just surface, baby level stuff. I hope not. But I think we're probably going to stick to areas in which the common people, unfamiliar with right division, they will want to attend. So I'm going to be working on it. I'm going to be trying to figure out what topics will be good for next year. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to immediately start prepping for the next one. My mind needs to shut down for a little while on all that stuff and just get back to the week in and week out of teaching Sundays and Wednesdays, and hopefully giving you good quality on our live streams. Because this is Shields and Arrows, and it's definitely not a coffee break. All right, there we go. The coffee's all gone. All right, now I'm done. When you have triplets, I will not give you a hard time for drinking coffee on the show. Now, let's see here. I'm trying to think, and it may come to me more as the days go by. Let me reflect on what I thought some of our most significant sessions were. I think some of our most significant sessions, our heaviest hitters, I think right off the bat, talking about what is Bible study, a number of people, they realized, hey, yeah, I've been relying on devotionals. You could kind of judge the audience, and a lot of them had devotionals, and they realized, yeah, no, that's what I'm doing. I'm letting devotionals replace Bible study, or I'm at least probably spending more time with a devotional than I should. And so I thought right off the bat, I thought we set a pretty good tone, because we're in waters in which they're getting a little bit of pushback already, but I tried to ease them into it. The ones that things got really hard, probably the most difficult, finding the gospel on every page was probably the first one that really was tough, because not everybody just relies on a study Bible. Not everybody just relies on commentaries, but I did have to address it. When we hit the issue of finding the gospel on every page, that was when things really started getting into deeper waters, because we addressed the issue, the matter of our gospel was a mystery. That was the first. If you have not watched the conference, you will know session 3 is when I introduced the mystery, and that you cannot find our gospel on every page because it was hid in previous ages. And even the idea that you don't find the gospel in the Sermon on the Mount, that the disciples did not know Jesus was going to rise from the dead all that time. And when he finally did tell them, that they didn't believe him because they were not trusting in his resurrection, his shed blood for salvation. They were expecting him to reign as king. And that was when things definitely got more in depth. Then we went into making application the objective. It really built off of that. I thought it went pretty good. I think people were following me for the most part. And then session number 5. Session number 5 is where the rub is going to come in for a lot of people, because session number 5 was ignoring contradictions. I don't know how to put it other than, if you are content, I was talking to a friend last night, and he may watch the show later. He does not agree with me on right division. He does study the Bible, but here's where the conflict comes in. If you are content with the status quo answer of resolving issues by saying, they're really not contradictions, it's all about context, James is just simply explaining what real saving faith is. Like, if you're content with all of that, session number 5 is not going to persuade you, because you are satisfied with the typical answer. Session number 5 really, I think, is the one that separates things. If you are not content with the status quo, if you have not been satisfied by the theological gymnastics made to get justified by works and justified by faith to agree with each other, If you are not satisfied with it, if you're not content with it, but also other things, circumcision absolutely required, now circumcision no longer required. If you have come to a place in which you're at peace with all those things and you can go along with what the seminary professors say and justify why those are all the same message and there's not any conflict at all, session number 5 is going to do nothing for you because you're at a place of you're content. You are at peace with it. If you're somebody who has never been at peace with it and you are not satisfied with the way it is attempted to be answered by the theological experts of our day, I think session 5 is what is maybe the breaking point in which you realize, okay, finally, somebody is actually trying to give a real answer. Instead of, like I said, instead of saying the wall is black, I know I don't care how light it may look to you on the camera, it really is black. Justified by works really is justified by faith. If you're somebody who does not find that to be satisfying, if you do not find that argument to be convincing, and you're not at peace with the status quo, that I think really will bring you over into our camp and you'll be willing to listen. Some people are content, and they are. And I think that if they're content, there was nothing my conference was going to do that was going to persuade them. It's for the people who have never been satisfied with the brochure. That's about the best way that I can put it. Now, I'm glad that there are people out there who are aware of the theological issue and have attempted to reconcile it, like who've studied it enough. I'm glad that they're wrestling with it. I'm glad that they acknowledge that you need to figure out why James and Paul have a contrasting couple of verses. And I guess I appreciate the fact that they have tried to find a reconciliation between the two. I just think that there are the guardrails, there's the theological blinders put up that don't allow them to consider any other alternative. So they have to say, I know that one says justified by faith, the other one says justified by works and not faith only. They just can't let themselves, to expand beyond it, because then once you do that, then you lose friends, right? Then you're not within the circle of accepted mainstream views, right? You've abandoned, like, there's no commentaries that are accepted by academia that are going to back you. You are out in left field when you get to that area. So there's a lot of smart people out there. I've said it again and again. There were smart people probably who went to the conference. There's going to be smart people who listened to the conference, and I'm not going to persuade. It's not due to intelligence. It's just there is only so far that you are willing to go within the window of theology. And if you are determined that the standard answer is satisfactory, well, then you're set. You're content, and you're not going to go beyond it. Now, I will say to those people who disagree with me, and I know there's a lot that disagree with me, even if you think I'm entirely wrong about right division, all right? If you think I'm entirely wrong about the Pauline mystery, if you think I'm entirely wrong with how we handle James and Paul and circumcision and the law, if you think I'm entirely wrong about the kingdom and all those matters, I will ask you this one question, okay? How many preachers who teach the Bible do a long format conference like that? Because I haven't seen many do it. The ones I see do it that actually do a Bible conference. I'm not talking about a men's conference. I'm not talking about a women's conference. I'm not talking about a discipleship conference. I'm not talking about an evangelism conference. I'm talking about a Bible conference, just teaching the Bible. How often do you really see people do that? I'm not saying that that proves we're right. Obviously not. Because there are people who do Bible conferences, and I don't agree with their doctrine. But I think when it comes to the more fundamental doctrine, dispensational doctrine, right dividing doctrine, there is a disproportionate ratio of Bible conferences, Bible analysis, and Bible study that is in our camp that mainstream Christianity doesn't have. And I really think I can say that objectively. And I'm not telling you that that means we're right. But what I do want to pose to you, those who disagree with my view, why is that the case? Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can show me evidence. I don't know of any Bible conferences that's happened in southeastern Oklahoma, unless, I don't know how far north you can go. Les Feldick. I've done small Bible conferences. So this one and then the ones I've done, I don't know of any other actual Bible conferences. Why? I think that there is I think that there's a correlation there that you need to at least consider that, hey, there is a commonality, there is a group of people who, Chuck says right here, it was a long conference and the pew was getting pretty hard on your old bones, but thought it was good. There are people who have long conferences. They will sit all day Saturday studying the Bible and then get up and do it again Sunday morning. And it's at those conferences you're more likely to find dispensational doctrine. You're more likely to find biblical literalists. Why? Why is that the case? I don't know. And if I'm wrong about that, well, show me where the evangelicals, show me where so many of these are doing long-form Bible studies like this, Bible conferences, Bible analysis. Show me where they are diving into these topics. I wish all churches did this. It would be a great benefit. I wish that the Southern Baptists would do it. I wish that the Methodist, Independents, you name it, whoever, I wish that they were doing this. That way you could get a long format, in-depth presentation on how they approach the Bible. And we could compare apples to apples. You really could. You can compare apples to apples in sermons, and I think that's very telling as well. The evangelical sermon versus the dispensationalist, literalist type sermons. You can see a contrast there, but it's even more magnified when you have, hey, here is 7 hours of Bible study and Bible analysis. And here's another 7 hours, but this one's done by a dispensationalist, this one's done by a covenant theologian, this one's done by a Calvinist, this one's done by an Arminian, this one is done by a right divider, and this one is done by a, I don't know, whatever category you want to use. And you can really compare them side by side, and you can see who is really being consistent, who is answering hard questions, who is diving into the most depth, and who is more persuasive. And you can just ask those questions. So whether you like us or not, whether you agree with us or not, our camp is doing something that I simply don't think others are doing. Because I don't count your little Southern Baptist convention. I don't count your little men's and women's conferences. I don't count your little evangelical discipleship conferences. Those don't count. Because it's not Bible analysis. It is motivational, rah-rah, here's a few verses, go get them, Tiger. I have no interest in that. I have no interest in that. I would much rather hear a biblical analysis from a Calvinist than the shallow, run-of-the-mill stuff we're seeing today. I'll read a few comments about the conference really quickly before I transition into some news. Yeah, that's my overall thoughts there on the conference. Rick is getting ready to fly on back to Charlotte, heading to DFW. Mary says, it was a great conference. Thank you so much, Mark, for all your hard work and time you put into this presentation. Well done. Thank you, Mary. That means a lot. And thank you for the role that you played as well. It was really, really great. Thank you. Let's see. Chuck's on. Says, yep, I met your Calvinist outside the building. Yeah. She seemed cordial. I'm glad she came. I hope she goes back to her church and her preacher and then they discuss these things. I will say one thing I am very interested to see is because there were people that were in the area who came and they go to other churches, it may put me more on the radar now. There is coming a day, I don't know when, I will get pushback from the outside because they will accept, like Calvinists will tolerate another church that's not Calvinist. I don't know if Calvinists will tolerate us, especially if we're technically a part of the association. I don't know. But I think, and I've got some members of my church, if Kitty's still with us today, I think if the association tried to push it, because here's the thing, some of the heavy hitters, the ones that have some weight to throw around in the association, are Calvinist. And I don't know, there may come a day when it's, all right, church, the associations come and told you they're worried that you need to do something about your preacher. Who are they going to pick? Are they going to choose, they're going to side with me or are they going to side with the association? I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I think that they're going to support me because I think they see it. I think they believe it. I hope that day doesn't come, but it's possible. If the right people hear the right, if the right people get involved, I don't know. But I'm here for it. I'm here for the whole thing. I really don't care. I'm young and I'm idealistic and maybe a little bit cocky, but I kind of want to fight. So let's go ahead. Let's duke it out. I don't care. All right. Kitty's on with us this morning, I did see. Yep. Chuck says, Myra's on with us. Myra, good morning. Myra, I guess you got to join us some. I think I saw your name in the live chat a few times in the conference. Chuck says spring is the perfect time for the conference. It allows you to have another one when your kids are older. Yeah, I think so. I think we'll definitely do two eventually. Rick says, thinking last night, I realized another study mistake is just not studying at all. People that do not study at all are more easily deceived. And I actually talked about on our very last session, Rick, if you remember, it's a shame. It's shameful. It's ungrateful and shameful that God has provided His Word for us and we don't study it. That was maybe the hardest I got on people. I got, there's a few times I kind of came down on them pretty hard. Rick says conference was great teaching and great fellowship. The fellowship was really fun. Every person I talked to, even those that we know were Calvinists, may have disagreed, they were still friendly people. It's Oklahoma folks, all right? I mean, it's Southern hospitality. It was a great time. Everybody was happy to see each other and visit. Rick pulled over in a parking lot so he could pay more attention to the show. Chuck, I'll answer your question just because I don't know how long I don't know if I could spend that long answering it. Your question is, during the millennium, does God go back to circumcision? I mean, the millennium is prophetic program. It's Israel program. And we know in the millennium that they'll be in the temple, there will be sacrifices offered. Of course, all the non-biblical literalists are, oh my gosh, Christ has already come. He's the final sacrifice. Okay, I get it, what you're saying. I'm just saying the Old Testament says in the millennial kingdom there will be sacrifices. I mean, my default would be yes. That'd be my default. But I don't know how much of a biblical argument I can make other than you have all these other places where there's the temple, there's the law, it's Israel. So that's my quick answer to you. I think so. Chuck adds in, careers and businesses take so much of people's time. Yeah, that to be devoted to studying at this level, one needs to be retired. Yeah, I think so to a degree, but also young people have more time than they think. Maybe not the middle-aged people, because now you're really in the thick of things in your career, and now your kids are older and there's more activities. I think it's probably harder for a 45-year-old to study than it is for a 35-year-old to study. So it's tough, but also I asked in the conference, what's the screen time on your cell phone? Surely, if your screen time is 4 hours, 5 hours, you got 30 minutes in there to do a little bit of reading, a little bit of pondering. 30 minutes, you can read through the book of Romans in 30 minutes. Are you going to comprehend all of it? No, but I will say this. Reading through the whole book, just through and through, it's amazing to me because this is a variety show today. I'll just kind of go a little bit every which direction. The letter was written as a letter, and you just read it as a whole. I think sometimes, and I do this, verse by verse Bible study, like, oh yes, okay, now let's focus on this word here. In the Greek, here's the word, and then we go, right? Which can be absolutely beneficial. But I would say you also, to get the full appreciation and implications of the letter, read the whole thing. And you'll actually see, okay, I see the flow of thought. I see how one topic leads to another. And yeah, if you have 30 minutes in the day, you can read Romans twice. Even, very likely. So it's just, what are you going to do with your time? And I said to somebody, I'm probably not going to study much today because I'm tired. Let's see here. Mama J. Always glad to have you on with us. Awesome teachings this week, and thank you for all you do. Thank you. I'm happy to do it. Hopefully, that was my first long-form conference, so I guess that's my worst one, hopefully, right? Because I get better. So thank you for enjoying my worst conference that I've ever done. I certainly hope that's the case, because I just improve. Chuck says, no offense, but if I had anything to do with it, you'd have your church become non-denomination. I know, Chuck, and I'm not saying you're wrong. And then Kitty says she'll always, the church will always side with me. And then I think that's the case, Kitty. I feel like the church, the congregation as a whole, has seen it. And I may be trying to cross bridges where there is no valleys and no water and all those things, right? So it may never come to that point where the association wants to oppose me. But I think if the day came, I think the church would have my back. I think so. Jerry's on with us today. Jerry says, love the conference. Great job. Thank you, Jerry. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. And I'm also glad that I'm also glad that the audio was okay enough for you to watch it. It doesn't seem like, I haven't seen anybody reach out to me and say, hey, I tried to watch, but the audio was just too bad. We couldn't do it. So I'm glad. Mr. Edmondson's on with us. Good job. Our lives depend on knowing the truth and the gospel by which we are saved. Keep rightly dividing. Thanks. Thank you, sir. I've really enjoyed you. You continually support me, and it seems like every time I post something, you're always giving me encouragement, and that really means a lot. Chuck talking about Evan, our farmer. Evan's a rare example of one who works all the time, yet has time for family and Bible. Partly because he's not involved in a bunch of other stuff. I think it's easy to get involved in too many things. I mean, I'll be honest, we have some parents who, like, their kids are a part of the academic program, their kids play, multiple sports, and they're just gone constantly. And I love sports. And one of the things I wish I would have been more committed to the weight room, but nobody was committed then. And back when I was in high school, it's the luck of the draw. And, if you developed early, like some of the kids did, hey, you were bigger and stronger. That's great. Then there were those like me, and it took time. And now, I continue to lift weights and try to do things. And so I'm, I would be better at baseball now than I was in high school by far. And basketball too. I mean, I can probably jump higher now than I could when I was a senior in high school. But I don't know. I'll have to talk to my mom about this. But it's just, I feel like we're going to have to limit our kids to some degree. Like, how much are we going to have them doing? Because otherwise, you're gone every night. You're never together. There's something on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, and then Wednesday nights, church night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturdays. And nowadays, half the time, schools are scheduling practice on Sunday afternoons, Sunday nights. I don't know. Like, when do you have time for a family? I just don't know. It's a lot. And it's changed a lot even then. I think my mom would agree because my mom was a coach. Like, the level of practice and the number of games, like travel ball for basketball, for baseball, softball, you name it. I mean, I thought our schedules were busy when I was younger. And I look at what kids are doing today, and partly because kids don't have much of a family life anyways. So yeah, what do? You just play sports to pass your time. It is an interesting discussion. I want my kids to play sports because it's good for you. You need to do something competitive and you need to do something active. So if it's rodeo, it's sports, it's if you want to be a musician, but you still need some physical activity as well. You need to, if you're going to be a musician, then you better, be some kind of hiker, camper, something like that, because you've got to have physical activity still. So I want my kids to do it. It's just a tough balance, like having time to study the Word of God because you're always so busy. That's what I was getting at there. Myra says it was very good. Thank you, Myra. And you've always, you go way back too. There's some of y'all that I've known for years now. I mean, you knew me back when I may not have even had Jake, my oldest, when some of you first found me. Mom says if a person was to buy a Schofield Study Bible, which one is the best? Get the first generation, Mom. If you do want to use a study Bible, which I think that you're at the point where you have a biblical foundation to where you can absolutely make use of one, the first generation, just send Randy White a text, Dr. Randy White at Dispensational Publishing House, or send him a message, send him an email, and just say you want a first generation Schofield, and that's the only one he carries because the second and third generations, there's more Calvinism in them. Who the editors of them, the publisher, started to transition to a more Calvinist viewpoint, and they started making additions to all of that. So I would get a hold of a Dispensational Publishing House and get a first generation. That's what my recommendation would be. Jerry says, it depends on the circumstances of life, but it should be a priority for believers. Yeah, and I agree. You make happen what's important. Hey, your life's busy, but you got time to watch the ball game, right? You got time to watch your favorite TV show. This is what it is. I mean, you do the things that are important to you. My mom is agreeing. You definitely changed a lot. You might have developed faster if, as a family, we were willing to sacrifice our family time for you to do that. Yeah. Yeah, it's a difficult thing. Well, probably what my thoughts are is our kids are going to exercise. It doesn't matter. Even if they don't play sports, you need to be physically fit. You need to be strong just for life in general. Because like I want my girls, even if, hey, 120-pound girl cannot fight off a 200-pound grown man, but if she's strong, she may just be strong enough to buy her time and to where she can get to her gun or something. So even if they're not sporty people, which I hope they are, because that'd be boring. I want them to play sports because I like sports. Probably what the plan is right now is get them in the weight room, get them strong, let them play everything, not soccer because that's not American, but I'll let them play basketball, baseball, softball, let them do those things. And then if they really love both, we'll let them go. But I am telling you this. I'm going to draw a line in the sand and say, you're not going to practice on Sundays. I don't care what your coach wants. We'll put in extra time in the week if we need to, but we're not going to do Sunday stuff. And as a matter of fact, I actually knew right down the road is Silo. Silo's a big baseball school like Rattan is, where I grew up. And the preacher there, his boys were good athletes, played baseball, and he had a rule. They did not practice on Sundays. They just didn't. And you got to do that. You got to make that rule that you're not going to do those things. And the coach may not have liked it because he always held Sunday night practices. They always hit Sunday nights or whatever, but you got to draw a line and you got to take a stand at some point. So we'll have certain boundaries how much that they'll do, like no Sunday things. But if they do want to specify, get more specific or specialize as time goes on, I mean, man, you sure do gain more family time if you're not going every night of the week to some other town, somewhere else. It's just times have changed a lot. You're right. Chuck, I mean, we're not going to change society. He just says, I'm probably going against the Christian grain on this one, but I think people should be more involved with their government and school boards too. But I don't think it's anti-Christian at all. The bad doctrine is we're in the kingdom now and Christ is reigning and his will's being done. So it doesn't matter who's in office. If Joe Biden's in office, it's God's will. Now, if Trump won, it's because of those mean old Christians. I'm not one of those mean old Christians. It's funny how that works, right? The Christianity today's the Russell Moores of the world. Trump is the work of Satan, and any Democrat is the work of God. That did remind me. I think my favorite part of the whole conference, and y'all let me know. I think it was Space Pets. We went through the Space Pets acronym or whatever for Bible study, and that was a fun time. I really enjoyed it. Rick says, your people are obviously in love with you. I would be afraid to come against you in front of any of them. Well, thank you, Rick. I do feel that way. I really believe. The only reason I say I think is just because, that church has been a Southern Baptist church for 100 years, So it'd be tough. And like I said, it may not ever come to that. I'm not ever going to force it unless the SBC just really keeps on, pushing it. But I'm not going to force it. But it may be forced upon me, right? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what the future has in store. Chuck says he remembers Mark and Mary before Jake. Rick says, I look at it like this. If I can find some time for a long vacation, I can sure make time to refresh my soul in edification. Yeah, Rick basically wasted a vacation week on coming and seeing us. But I don't think it was a waste at all. Rick stayed at Lake Texoma, a really pretty place over there, and had a good time. Myra says even with homeschooling, playing basketball and running cross country, it was hard to find balance. Yeah, you have to draw a line somewhere, I think. And there were things I could have done. There were times like I could have gotten jobs. Like something like doing something on the weekends or something, to some degree. And like, I remember I talked about maybe working after school, which with playing sports, it would have been hard, but you can kind of work it in your schedule. And my parents just were like, no, you're not going to do that. That takes all your time away from us. We're going to spend time together. Things like that. So you got to take a stand at some point, because otherwise the family just continues to deteriorate and you get no time together at all. All right. So with that, I think I've caught up on all your comments there. That's my thoughts on the Bible conference. I may have some more things to say about it as things develop, as time goes on, and maybe I start to think about a few more things. But overall, though, just so great. It means so much to me that you supported me, that many of you joined in person or online, and hopefully those videos will stand, the test of time for YouTube, and maybe people will find it and they'll not make those common Bible study mistakes. All right, let's go ahead and transition to a little bit of political talk, why don't we? I'm worried about Oklahoma, folks. I'm worried about Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a deep red state. Trump has won every county in Oklahoma back-to-back election cycles, and he won most of them in 2016. I think that's right if my history is correct. If things do not change, Oklahoma may have a Democrat governor. That may sound shocking, but I'm just saying the current governor of Oklahoma, Kevin Stitt, is not popular. Part of it is not entirely justified. He is unpopular amongst some because he has tried to get the tribes to pay more taxes off of their casinos. That's a very simple oversimplification of it. And the tribes are liberal. They just are, okay? They are owned. However it worked out, I don't know. And I know people who are high up in these tribes, and they're good. They're good people. They are Bible-believing people. They have good families. They love guns. They love hunting. But there's something going on because the tribes themselves are liberal. And they have money, and money has power. So there's that. The tribes don't like Stitt. They back the Democrat candidate, Mary, what was her name? She used to be the state superintendent. Can't remember her name right now, but my mom knows, and I'm sure. Joy Hoffmeister. Now, another thing that Kevin Stitt did is he fired the head of Oklahoma's Forestry Service because he believes he mishandled the wildfires that broke out in Oklahoma. Well, he's a popular guy. People like him. Some people think that Kevin Stitt's mad because his home burned down. Because his home did burn down. Not the governor's mansion, but his home that he actually owns. On top of that, Governor Stitt backed Ryan Walters, who has turned out to be an unpopular superintendent in Oklahoma. It frustrates me because it's the weirdest thing. There's the ends that he does, to some degree, I have liked because he supported getting the Bible back in schools, getting a Bible part of the curriculum. The means by which he does a lot of things are very, very, how do I put it, stupid. He pushed the mandate for Bibles back in schools in the middle of the summer. How do schools prep for that? You need to have a lot of time to prepare. Also, he's waged war on small schools to a large degree, supporting the bigger schools. Guys, the way that we live in this world, small towns, a lot of livelihood exists on the schools. Those are your teachers. Those are your bus drivers, janitorial, referees. Guys make a living as a referee, umpiring ball games, umpiring basketball, football, things like that. Trying to attack the small schools and not giving any kind of real solutions other than, hey, just consolidate, and then now all these people lose their jobs. I am very worried at a local level, and local is statewide. People in Oklahoma may get fed up enough to not vote for Kevin Stitt, and there may be enough libs in Tulsa and Oklahoma City and in the tribes to push the Democrat governor across the finish line. And you know what gets to happen then? Judges get appointed. Liberal, left-wing judges. Oklahomans, for all three of you who listen to me, don't be petty. Stitt makes me mad in a lot of ways. Walters makes me mad in a lot of ways. If you get mad and you decide to spite your nose or spite your face, you cut off your nose to spite your face, you will get liberal judges in Oklahoma and they will start making liberal decisions. And you will pay the price for years to come. Years to come. Don't do it. Don't do it. Primary Stitt, primary Walters, be vocal about it. Don't go liberal. And there's some who may, listen to me and may think, oh, none of that would ever happen. Oklahoma's not going to go liberal. I'm just telling you, folks, if you're in Colorado, Myra, you're in some other state and you see Oklahoma as the safe haven of the Republicans, conservatives, nope, it's volatile right now. And it's not a good place. And so I am worried. I'm worried about our own state because the winds move quickly in Oklahoma, both literally and figuratively. And we need to be careful. I'll probably save my nationwide commentary on politics for tomorrow as we explore some of those things. We'll talk a little bit about Trump and what he's doing. Good and bad. And I maybe even not even know what is good and what's bad yet. But we'll talk about it, and I'll give you some of my thoughts. We'll also talk about the Democrats and how they're going to regroup. I don't know. Oh, she'll run for governor again because she ran for governor last time as a Democrat. Yeah, and Kitty, you're right. He is term limited. What I'm saying is, don't out of anger for Stitt, turn around and back the Democrat. That's what I'm saying. Because Ryan Walters runs, somebody like that. Yeah, so y'all are right. I'm almost certain he is term limited out. But what I'm saying is, don't let there be a what's the word I'm looking for? A referendum. Don't let there be a referendum on the Republicans in Oklahoma for Stitt's and Walters' dumb decisions, okay? Don't do it. Stay the course. Because the judges matter, all right? The courts matter. And people have a narrow view of things, and they think, well, I'm a conservative, but I'm just going to teach them a lesson by appointing this Democrat. Don't pull the lever for the Dems, because then you get liberal judges. It's the same reason why all these principled conservatives, I'm not voting for Trump. Okay, great. Who's appointing Supreme Court justices? Think about it. It matters. It absolutely matters. And the truth is, you know what you're getting with a liberal politician. You're getting liberal judges. But worse yet, you don't even know for certain if your judges that you appoint, the conservatives appoint, are going to do good. Amy Coney Barrett has burned us a number of times. A number of times. she's disappointed me in some big ways. Yeah, great. Yes, we've overturned Roe v. Wade, and I will always thank her for that. But she's doing damage in some other serious ways. She's a major vote that we need in the conservative position. So, anyways, those are my thoughts on Oklahoma. I'm worried about it because it's my state and it affects me. And if Oklahoma's not invulnerable, none of us are, because it's red through and through. Us and West Virginia, but I think we're even more red than West Virginia. All right, well, that's my thoughts for today. Great to have all of you back. I hope you've enjoyed. We're getting back to our normal form now. If you noticed, we went a whole hour today for Shields and Arrows. We're not cutting things short anymore now that I'm scrambling last minute, or no longer scrambling last minute to get ready for a Bible conference. Thank you all so much for your encouragement, your friendship, your compassion, your fellowship, and certainly your support financially as well in this ministry. This is what I do. I'm a preacher, and I do this ministry, and I continue to do it. So thank you all so much. We'll see you all tomorrow.